The idea for this workbench is to have a workbench that I can take pretty much anywhere that I go, and it'll also bring the workpiece up to a slightly more manageable height here. With the main part of the workbench completely finished and the top sanded, it's time to move on to making the vise. There are a few options for the vise. I could just use clamps to make it, but I've decided to use the type of vise that I have made here, which means that I'm going to have to go out and buy some more threaded rod and some nuts and bolts, so then hopefully I'll be able to install a vise like this on here, and then that'll pretty much just complete the tutorial. Make sure, however you design this workbench, make sure that you design it so you can use some clamps to attach it onto your bench. Unfortunately, I reckon it's going to be quite a while until I can get hold of some threaded rod. So for now, I just need to give this bench a really good test and see if I can make any tweaks to it. As a little something that I can be getting on with while the stuff for the vise comes, I have decided to use some scraps of plywood and these old, really quite large dowels to make some dogs. I've just got 3 positions marked out on the main part of the workbench here, and that is going to be where I drill the holes for the dogs to go. I've marked with some tape on this drill bit here, which tells me how far I need to go. Plywood has just been cut off camera, and I'm just going to use some screws and I'm going to attach it on here, so that will hold the dogs that I've just finished making and any other small tools that I'll be working with when I'm doing the project on this bench. And I'm just going to attach them on with some wood screws. That should be sufficient to hold them on. These 2 pieces have just been cut off camera, and these are to make this mini workbench slightly extendable. So I'm going to have to chisel out some holes in this piece of wood here, which means that they can slide in and out of there, so I can pop a piece of wood on that end so it'll slide up and down nicely, and then I will have to think about some sort of locking mechanism to hold these in place. After I've drilled all these holes, I'm just going to have to use a chisel to chisel out the waste. It did take absolutely ages, but I have just finished working out how to get that moving really easily. It took a combination of a chisel, a drill, a file and a coping saw to get these to move nice and freely. So what I need to do now is screw this plate back onto here, and then take this and mount those on there for the extended bit of the bench. As you can see, with a bit of brute strength, this will move up and down, and that's kind of what I wanted. So I now need to attach this bit onto the main bit of the bench over there. I have finally got this working, and I am super happy with how it works. Ooh. All I need to do now is work out how I can create a locking mechanism to lock this in place so it doesn't move. To make the locking mechanism, the first thing that I had to do was take two of these little dowels, and you can probably see that in the end of both of them is a little tack nail. And what these allow me to do is take a magnet and just grip them with the magnet, which means now that I've drilled holes in here which the dowels fit in quite nicely, this allows me to insert the extended bit into here, and these two holes here allow me to drop in these little dowels through these holes and hold it in place. And then once I'm finished holding this in place, I simply take this magnet and then I can just pick it out. So it is really quite a cool little mechanism that is really simple to make and hopefully quite effective. So now I just need to give this a wee test out. It did take a while, but I managed to use some pliers and I got these dowels nicely in place, and it still does move a little bit, but I know that it's not going to come out any further, which is absolutely excellent, and I'm chuffed to bits with it. So now all I need to do is take the magnet and get out the dowels. So yeah, I'm really pleased with how that is, with how that has turned out. Now we just need to worry about getting the vise done. The build is now finished and I am very pleased with it. Now my initial plan was to film the building of this vise, but the video was just getting a wee bit long, so I made the decision just to build the vise off camera, and in these last few minutes of the video talk you through how I built the vise and do some wee tests with the workbench. So as you can see here, I didn't actually go with how I made this vise down here. This uses 2 small pieces of threaded rod. This vise here actually uses 2 pieces of copper tubing and 1 piece of threaded rod. So with the copper tubing, this vise does just move freely and that stays there, which means that when I clamp a piece of wood, let me just get a piece of wood from over here. Oh dear. When I get my piece of wood and try it out in this vise here, I firstly have to alter this here, and then I have to undo that. It's a bit awkward, to be honest with that. I'm going to have to make a bigger handle for it. So then I move that and I insert it into there, and then I just tighten up this knob there. Okay, so let's just do a test now. It still does wobble a bit, but I kind of need to try it out with, I'm just going to try it with a coping saw for now and just see how it goes. I'm just going to take off this corner or something. Now there's very minimal movement, to be honest, and it does seem to work well. Obviously a coping saw is really quite a light saw, so if you were going to use a jigsaw, I wouldn't suggest using something like this. My vise down here is going to be more secure because it's got 2 pieces of threaded rod rather than this just having some copper tubing. If you're not understanding how the vise is going to work, I'm just going to pause the video and turn this upside down so you can see it better. I've just noticed something very quickly, and it's when I went to turn the bench upside down, and it may not have looked too secure, but when I went and picked this up, the piece of wood stayed completely in. So actually the vise is pretty secure. So yeah, this is the underside of the bench. We can obviously see the dog holes here that went all the way through, and I'll do a quick test with dogs in a minute. So there is a nut between this piece of plywood and this piece of weird blue wood. So when I move this slowly, it will wind up in that nut there. Now it doesn't really matter about the nut, but these can still move up and down. And then when I put my piece of wood in there and then push this up, I actually haven't clamped it to the bench, and then tighten that. So this is basically like, I don't know really. If you haven't got it, oh dear, I'm sorry, but I can't really think of any more ways to explain it. So yeah, that's how the vise mechanism works. I'll just test out the dogs very quickly and see if they work. So it still does wobble around a bit, it's not ideal. I guess what I could have done is, rather than just having one dog hole there, I could actually move this piece down so it sits in 2 dog holes, so I think I'll just try that out now. So I've changed the way the dogs are rearranged. So at one end the vise is clamping it, at the other, and at the other end there are 2 dogs, oh dear, holding it. And now, if I just give it a really quick test, seems to hold, oh, it was just moving off the main bench there. It seems to hold itself really well, and I couldn't be more impressed. Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you like this build and my channel, please like and subscribe, and the best thing that you can do to support me is share this video with some of your friends. Thank you so much for watching, and a special thank you to all of you who are still watching, because this has been quite a long video. It's a video that I started 13 days ago, but it's finished and I'm super happy with it, and I hope you enjoyed it too. Bye.